behalf of the Clockwork Music Group, we'd like to welcome you to the Bowes Museum at Barnard Castle. It's now the 16th of October 1984, and we've been allowed the privilege of coming here and especially filming the Swan in action. It has now run several times, and we hope we've got an adequate record of its movement. It was done and repaired by a member of our group, Mr. Tom Bryson-Smith, who unfortunately is no longer with us. It's not been exactly possible to film underneath the workings of the Swan, but I hope that you enjoy seeing it in action.
Ask the ordinary visitor what he remembers best about the Bowes Museum, and almost certainly it will be the Silver Swan, especially if he's seen it working. People ask why it doesn't work more often, and the answer is simply the Swan is over 200 years old. Most people forget that. We first hear of the Swan in 1774, when it appears in an inventory of Cox's museum. James Cox was a goldsmith working in a court off Fleet Street, and he had a considerable collection of these beautiful mechanical objects. Cox got into financial difficulties because he held a lottery of his museum in 1775, and then 4 years later he was declared bankrupt. The Swan then is heard of in Davis Grand Museum, originally Cox's, towards the end of the century, and thereafter in a museum run by a man called Thomas Weeks, who was described as a perfumer and machinist working near Haymarket. He died in 1834. The next time we hear of the Swan is in 1867, when it was exhibited at the Paris International Exhibition by Harry Emanuel, a jeweller of New Bond Street in London. In 1872, the Swan was bought by John Bowes. He paid £200 for it. Now, by Bowes' standards, that was a very large sum of money, so he clearly regarded it as quite an important item in his collection. He had it repaired by a French jeweller, who then, a few years later, dismantled it and packed it for bringing to the Bowes Museum. So it arrived back in England in 1877. The Swan has worked for the public for many decades. It was given a very thorough repair and overhaul overhaul in the 1960s by Mr. Tom Bryson Smith, and since that time it has been running daily for the public, though I must say it has to remain on a very limited basis in order to preserve it for the future.
What's known about the original manufacturer of the Swan?
Not much, to be truthful, but we suspect that James Cox had some hand in it. He was a maker of curious objects in precious metals and materials, and he was also described as an important export agent, so he may have made part of it and got help with the rest of it.
This would be in London rather than Switzerland, which seems to be the home of exotic mechanisms.
Yes, I think he probably made it in London, if he made it at all. And originally it had an 18-foot-high canopy with a rising sun at the top and mirrors which reflected the movement of the swan and decorative details in crystal and jewels.
That is our brief visit to the Bowes Museum in Barnard Castle. We do hope you found the film of interest, and it stimulates you into coming to actually visit the Swan itself. This is just one. This is in the foyer of the museum, and after that there's a treasure house of various other things that you'll find extremely interesting, including quite a few other mechanical musical items, but unfortunately none of them are actually working yet.